Presently, it's a big contention, but it's something we need to talk about. As I said before, one of the systemically important sectors is the oil sector for so many reasons. One is that Nigeria is endowed in this area, and what happens in that sector, the boom, the prosperity in that sector, in my viewpoint, should be democratized as much as possible. So I want to talk about this sector and what we can possibly do in this area. Presently, the Nigerian public feel excluded from the Nigerian oil and gas sector, as only a small percentage of the elite have so far managed to gain access through a stringent and highly capital-intensive. National Assembly and the government, so the three National Assembly and the executive arm of government should evolve innovative ways of meeting the aspirations of Nigerians for participation in the oil and gas sector. One such innovation is to make it possible for the Nigerian public to invest in the oil and gas sector. This can be achieved by evolving a special purpose vehicle, SPV, which can be floated on the Nigerian Stock Exchange for the investing public. The shares in the SPV will be contributed by NNPC ceding a small portion of its equity that it holds in the JV. And the IOCs can also chip in a small equity. Say NNPC can do 6%, IOCs can do 4%. This makes it 10%. So you have an SPV that you list on the market. The shares of the SPV will be floated, could be floated on the Nigerian Stock Exchange so that the public is free to buy. And by buying, they are now beginning to participate in the economic prosperity that comes with the fortunes of the oil and gas sector. And as I said before, once there's shared destiny, once people feel that they're included, they are part of the prosperity, it can have much more positive impact than we can imagine in this hall. Even in making sure that there's peace, stability, in making sure that the company is going to do very well, because you're telling yourself, oh, this company's success is somewhat tied to my own economic prosperity and success. So this way, a nation can kill two birds with one stone through the SPV. One, we can meet the yearnings of Nigerians that they want to legitimately participate in the oil asset that we have. And two, the issue of cash calls that we have today can drastically be addressed. But the powers to do this, the National Assembly has a critical role to play in making this happen. And so for National Assembly to be thinking of, especially Joint National Assembly, to be thinking of how to increase participation or deepen the capital markets, this is a low-hanging fruit. This is something we can do, especially also at a time like this that we are finding it difficult to fund some of the JVs. We need to think seriously about this. It can help us significantly. Going forward, state-owned enterprises and systemically important entities must have for the state-owned enterprises, before privatization, we should have a pre-privatization requirement that maybe 3 to 5 years after you're privatized, after the asset, you've taken over the asset, you need to take it to the market. We did this in Transcorp Hotel. Transcorp Hotel was government-owned. Today is a company listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and traded, and people have access to it. So we can do this and tell people, if you are buying, but it's something you introduced before, not after. That's what I'm saying, pre-privatization. And we still have some other state-owned enterprises that I believe government must or should be considering selling. So we should bring this in at this stage. It will help also to deepen the market. And that way, it becomes an enforcement issue. Because we did say this before you bought, now you need to comply. For the systemically important enterprises also, before we grant authorizations, licenses, etc., we need to also introduce this kind of element to say, if it's a GSM license, if it's a national oil JV or allocation, etc., we put this again. This is this is a systemically important sector. We would like you to lease 5 years or 3 years. Put certain conditions so that everyone understands. I think it will help to further deepen the market. Again, in our privatization process or licensing process for systemically important assets, I want to say that from experience, and with due respect to all involved, it seems like our idea is still, or our mentality is slightly colonial. Why do I say this? Most of the new privatizations, or even significant government or systemically important areas of our economy that you want to allow private sector to participate in, a usual requirement is foreign operatorship or significant foreign ownership, or that the consortium should be led by a foreign group. If we continue like this, how are we going to develop our companies also become strong players? And when these foreign investors come in this manner, it becomes fairly difficult to encourage, incentivize, and ask them to come to the market subsequently. So, foreign operatorship should not be mandatory. We have seen local companies that have done well and can now go to other countries and actually begin to play also as foreign operators, technical providers. We have seen Dangote Group, Dangote Cement, run by Nigerians. Then you can employ anyone from any part of the world to help you capacitize. It's normal. In our power plant, the Transcorp power plant really is run by us, Nigerians. But we engage people from everywhere, anywhere, to help capacitize. But if during the bidding process we were told that if you didn't have a foreign group with controlling interests, you would not succeed, then it would have been difficult for us to achieve this. So we need, in making decisions to sell, our governments and our agencies should focus on expertise and capacity rather than foreign ownership. If the expertise, foreigners should feel free to participate just as local also. And a combination is also should be, but let people decide. But let our agencies focus on expertise and capacity rather than specifying a certain as is currently being done. Being a Nigerian bidder should not pose any disadvantage to anyone. We need to encourage our private sector to do well. In conclusion, I would say that National Assembly has recognized its role in helping to galvanize, to drive, to repurpose our economy. If we must achieve what we're discussing here, the enabling environment must be right. And the lawmakers of the land have a significant role to play in this. 2, today we talk about telecommunications sector as a key sector in our national economy. To a large extent, this is because at a certain time, a certain government decided to auction GSM licenses, and we didn't know such opportunities existed, and we saw opportunities just open up in that segment. There are other hidden sectors in our economy, other sectors that we can actually achieve significant growth from if we open up those sectors. And the responsibility to open up those sectors lies to a large extent in the National Assembly. They have to look at the laws. And I have a listing of some of them. Look at the railway. Railway is significant. Remember, there's huge global private capital looking for investment destination, and we have a huge country, huge population. People would like to move, 180 million people who want to move. But we need to just sit down, look at the bill, pass the bill, and open up that sector. Then private sector will do what they know how to do. Private sectors, to a large extent, they are rational investors. They want to see signaling, and then they will take advantage. So, rail bill, we need to look at it and open up this. We have integrated infrastructure bill. We need to work on this. So, you know, if I were executive arm of government and people complain about infrastructure or certain things, I would say go and hold our National Assembly responsible. So I know, as I said earlier, that National Assembly is trying. Even convening this meeting is a good starting point. But as we also know, talking is 1%. 99% is doing. And that is what makes the difference, and not the number of seminars or dialogues that we organize. So we need to finish up what we started yesterday very well. We need to take it to the point where we begin to develop a legislative agenda that recognizes that private sector must be freed up, that the economy must be prepared for growth in the 21st century if our country must take off. Otherwise, let's stop playing politics to the issue of developing the Nigerian economy. We have Nigerian ports and harbor bill. We need to look at it. We have the Nigerian Roads Fund bill. We need to look at it. And it goes on and on. So just imagine what happened in the telecommunication space with the signing, just getting GSM licenses operators to operate, and how the world responded to it. And imagine what will happen when the railways, the ports, even other utility like even water, we open it up. A lot will happen. And the good news is the private sector is ready, whether domestic private sector or global private sector. And there's no time like this. I think the international community has a great deal of confidence in Nigeria now, especially in the new government. And so when you have an opportunity like this, let's complement. Let's pass this bill so that people can take advantage of the opportunities. I'm happy that National Assembly on its own were not forced to organize this kind of session. More than even all of us plus me know that it's time to change the approach. And I hope that what started yesterday will not end here. Thank you very much.